Hello and welcome to this edition of the Time with Hime podcast. I'm your host, Lynn Cordes, joined by our superintendent, Mr. Hime. We're almost to the end of July. It is happening.
Yes, we are moving forward fast and a lot of exciting things going on at Lawton Public Schools.
We have a lot of great things to celebrate, such as our recent board meeting and some great news that we want to share with our faculty.
You know, one thing our board really does is they want to take care of our teachers, our staff, everyone who works at the school district. So, we put together a plan with their, looking for their approval to give our teachers a little bit of money because of what they went through last year. So here's a breakdown. Every employee in the district who worked in 21 and who starts 22 will get a $500 retention bonus stipend. Every support person gets a 50-cent raise. So they're an hourly employee, they're support, they're non-certified, they get a 50-cent an hour raise. Every certified person, it gets a little bit of complicated because every certified person gets a step every year. And that's a step equals a year of service. So every time they add a year, their pay goes up, and it's about $500 a year. So every teacher gets that step. We added a step because teachers that had worked more than 29 years weren't getting a step because it capped at 29. So we added 29. So everybody gets that $500 step. Plus we added $500 to the steps to make it $1,000. Then at Christmas, which would be, we do it the Friday before Thanksgiving or the Friday before Black Friday, every certified employee will get a $1,500 Christmas bonus, and every support staff member will get a $1,000 Christmas bonus. Now, this is for full-time. We'll prorate for our part-time and work it out. We talked to the board. There's kind of a sliding scale in there for them. But the bottom line is all of our employees will get somewhere from $2,500 to $3,000 more dollars in 2022 than they did in 2021. So, big shout out to the Lawton Board of Education. Big shout out to our finance department for putting all this on paper. And, I told somebody it's a big step for a board. And sometimes we forget that to approve this because that's a big investment. But we're investing in our staff and our teachers. And those are the people we need to invest in because we know it's their job to ensure that learning is going, taking place. And again, it's kind of the final shout out for the great job they did to get us through the pandemic last year.
And I'm glad you mentioned the part-time because we did have that question. So they are getting something as well regarding the bonuses.
Yes. We always try to, because, some of our part-time employees are just as important as,
we have a lot: cooks, custodians,
yes,
sweepers, monitors.
And some of them don't work the full hours, but if they're a benefits employee because they qualify for benefits, obviously that would be what you would call a qualified, and they get the full. Anybody below that level, we'll give them a half. I think it's what we talked about. Anybody that's not full-time gets a half. And so we're excited about that, and hopefully we get it worked out. And we use various language. I'm not sure how, when you're dealing with the different funds we use to pay these things, if in the end it'll be called a bonus or a stipend, but it'll be one or the other. So if you hear me say bonus or stipend, they're basically the same thing. They're just a little different in the coding and in the technicalities of how you pay that.
Now, the one thing you didn't mention that I know we also talked about at the board meeting was the $100 for the classroom teachers. Explain what that looks like for them.
Yes. And I think a little confusion got with that because we changed the school supply list.
Yes.
We took off like Clorox wipes and Kleenexes. We'll let you know, Dr. James and Mr. Hanna, our operations side, ordered a truckload of Clorox wipes. They're not Clorox, they're another kind, and some
sanitizing.
Hand sanitizing wipes and Kleenexes, so teachers didn't think they had to buy those because they were off the supply list. The $100 is for the teacher to spend on things they use in their classroom. It could be a word wall or letters that go around the building, or just things they use, things they can buy at Martell's, Amazon. And I think we talked to one of our local businesses, and we're working with that possibly we could use one of our local businesses to purchase those. So we're working on exactly where those will have to come from. But again, it's $100 for the teacher to try to offset. Most teachers spend $200, $300.
A lot more.
Yes,
exactly.
More than that on their classroom. So we're excited about getting that. The other thing we haven't mentioned a lot that was included is our first-year teachers.
Yes.
Who will not get the retention bonus. We're going to give them, I believe it was $200. It might have been $250. But they're going to get paid a stipend for coming to new teacher in-service, because they come for 3 days of in-service plus some technology training, and that'll give them a little bit of money to start the year as well. So like a first-year teacher would get the $100 for their classroom, which most of them will spend $400 or $500, plus $200 for coming to the new teacher workshop. So it gives them a little bit and a little bit of an incentive, because again, we know teachers are the variable. Teachers are our most valuable resource. We got to keep them coming, but we also know our bus drivers are important, our cooks are important, our custodians are important. Everybody's important. So this raise touches everyone, and we're really excited about that.
And regarding the classroom supplies, they just reach out to their principal for those funds, or how does that work?
Yeah, we'll get that all set up in the next week or two, and exactly how we're doing it, because it's kind of a shout out to our finance and our payroll department. We kind of switched financial software, so they're kind of adjusting real quick to it, and they got to get payroll ready to go. Everybody will get paid. Don't worry about that. But they've kind of got their hands full. So when we get into next week early, we'll get the details on exactly how and when you can spend the money. It will be a short window, and you'll have to probably spend it all at one time, because obviously with 1,000 teachers, just keeping up with who spent how much, you're not going to be able to spend 25 this week, 25 this week, because there's just no way that could be done. The counting and the paperwork would get overwhelming. But still, we're excited about that for our teachers.
Now, we're truly less than a month away, 3 weeks away before starting the first day of school, and we've had some questions about the expectations, what it looks like going into the new school year. So share out.
Last year we said we're never going to challenge the COVID, and sometimes we get misunderstandings. These new variants are coming, and we really don't know where we'll be. The challenge for us is in Oklahoma, our legislator passed a law that they basically took it out of the schools' hands to pass mandates for masks or vaccines or any of those things. So short of the governor can, declaring a state of emergency, we're going to have a hard time requiring masks. Obviously, if you want to wear one. We'd recommend them. If this variant keeps on, I'm sure we'll be recommending them, especially on buses and in small areas. We'll still have hand sanitizers everywhere. We still have our water filling stations so that kids can get water without drinking out of the same water fountain. We'll still work on social distancing, et cetera.
Best practices from last year.
Obviously, although they're not 100%, they're still saying that people in the hospital and people that are really getting sick with the variant are people who were not vaccinated. So we're encouraging everybody that can to get vaccinated, and that's going to be a change. But we're not requiring it. You got to talk to your doctor, your people, and make that decision. Employee-wise, that's going to be a change, but it is across the United States for anywhere you work. If you're not vaccinated, you still got to quarantine, and some of those protocols you got to go through versus if you are vaccinated. So it's going to be some difference and adjustment for us. It's just hard to say exactly what it's going to be, because like you said, we're still a month away. We're, 3 weeks, and in 3 weeks, a lot can change.
And we'll bring back Brandy, so that way she can share updates, and we're still in communication with the health department. They're still going to be our partners as we return back to the classroom. And
they're still planning on and setting up some vaccination clinics or where you can get vaccinated at the middle schools and the high schools for when we start the enrollment and back to school stuff. So that'll also cover other vaccines, I'm sure. So we'll bring her back and talk about that, because there's some vaccines when you got
exactly. I was just going to say, because we're doing check-ins, so that reminds me that we are going to share out some notifications to our families, and those are the forms that are required. We're doing electronic.
Yes.
Now, electronic doesn't mean it's all online like we did last year. That just means the documentation for our district forms are going to be done electronically, but we're still having in-person check-in.
Check-in so you can show up. And we were going to talk about vaccinations. I think when you get to be seventh grader, don't you have a seventh grader to be?
I do.
Isn't there a shot or two?
Tdap. She has to do her Tdap.
Yeah, so she has to take a shot. So just some of those things, I think they might sit up and help us with those and make that work for us. So, again, a great partnership with the health department. School is going to be different. There's going to be, as far as I can tell, there's still going to be that quarantine, isolation. If you're sick, stay home. Again, we're going to encourage everybody of that. If you're sick, stay home. It could be the flu. It could be a stomach virus. But we don't want that at school either. One thing we don't even talk about, I've not ever been that sick where I miss work, but I almost always get a cold sometimes in the winter. Just sometime during the winter, I get one of those colds.
Season's changing.
This drives me crazy. Last year I never got a cold. And part of, it's probably because I wore a mask all the time. And so maybe, so some of those things,
Or people stayed home too when they were sick and we weren't around each other.
Yeah, so we kind of we didn't have near the strep, flu, and some of those things because people stayed home. So really, and we washed our hands more and did some of those things. So we're going to strongly encourage all those things to continue that we can. We understand the masks are frustrating. I mean, I still got one in my truck somewhere in case I stop somewhere and they want you to wear a mask because I'm going to be respectful of other people's wishes. But wearing a mask is not high on my list of things I like to do. It is why I went and got vaccinated. And we want to continue to encourage our people to get vaccinated so they don't have to wear a mask because that's where we're at. That could change tomorrow, as we well know. So that's one thing I encourage our listeners and the people who listen to the podcast and who share with people to understand. Right now, we're pretty much back to normal, no mask,
We're still, if they want to wear it,
if they want to wear it, you can,
yes,
and so forth. But that could change easily in the next 2 or 3 weeks. What we're encouraging, what we're not, the vaccinations and some of those things, no telling, this virus is being unusual because, every time we think we're getting a step ahead, we're all excited. Hey, we're going to get back to normal. They say, well, there's a Delta variant. Somebody told me there was another variant today. And so I'm like, well, what's going to be the next one, So hopefully, again, we get closer to normal. We got a lot of great things and exciting things going to happen at Lawton Public Schools next year. We're so excited. I mean, I know myself in the meetings I've been in the last week, I'm so excited to see the maker spaces. I'm so excited
really
to
cool.
see what happens at the Life Ready Center. I mean, and where we're so lucky at Lawton Public Schools is the people in charge of some of these things going on. I mean, to hear Doris talk about the maker spaces and what she's got going on and the thing people are doing, even for our virtual maker spaces, you can't help but get excited. To hear Charlotte, who's been in Lawton Public Schools since they started Lawton Public Schools, to talk about the Life Ready Center and what she's got on and what she works and what she sees happening, you can't help but get excited about it. And
there's that passion.
And to hear Tony Jones when he came and talked about our TAP classes and how we're going to adapt technology and encourage our kids hands-on and continuing that engineering at the middle school level, you can't help but get excited. So, man, I am so excited with the start of school coming and all the great things. And then the other part of that is, as most people know, I was a football coach for 20 years, huge football fan. And, I love a little football to start. As they always say, boomer.
Sooner. Yes, I do it for everybody. I do it for everybody out there. Sooner. Sorry, OSU fans. I know I was trying to help you out there. But yes, and just a reminder to our families, as we begin our process for check-in, we are doing, we have our supply list out there. We have our clear and mesh backpacks. We've heard some information, just some feedback around that, but that is what's happening. And then, we have check-in to come and, it's not a meet and greet night. We'll have that hopefully across everything. And we still have virtual.
Yes.
That is the question that I still get, every week is, are we doing virtual? And what does that look like?
Do we do a nighttime virtual?
We are doing nighttime virtual. And that's we have a great, fabulous team.
We are going to continue. This has always been my goal. We will offer every opportunity we can for every student we can unless it hinders another student. So obviously, if we only have one student who wants nighttime virtual, we can't afford to pay somebody to teach one student. That takes money away from other students, so you'd be getting more than your share or your portion.
But we'll give them another option that's in our student pace.
But right now, we have lots of students interested. So right now, I would say pre-K through 12, there will be some options for nighttime virtual. There will be student paced for the secondary, and obviously the daytime virtual. And hey, we're going to do a great job of that.
And we need to make sure that if you guys are interested, you make sure you sign up and contact our virtual team. We'll have all that information on our check-in website. We're working on our webpage that we're going to push. Those notifications will go out this weekend. Is there anything else that you want to celebrate before we go?
As we get closer to school, one thing we always need that the community can help us with, especially people that are retired or just not working full time, is bus drivers. We always need bus drivers. Now, we need subs. So, hey, get on our website, apply to be a bus driver, apply to be a sub, apply to be in some of our jobs if you're interested, and sign up, because we're always looking for great people to add to our family.
And speaking of getting on and applying, give them the website and the email.
info@lawtonps.org, or lawtonps.org is the website. And then, if you got questions, and we answered some of those questions because, we talk about it even on this podcast. Sometimes the questions will come through and I'll say, did I say that? And, I was like, well, maybe I did, and it just didn't come out right. And you'll say, well, maybe I cut you off. Or I'll say, no, you didn't say that, but I cut you off, and kind of create. So, again, we work on communication every day. This has become a great form of communication for us. But if we say something or it comes out and you're not sure you 100% understand, shoot us an email, info@lawtonps.org, and we'll try to clarify it because, again, we want to be as transparent as we can. We want to clarify things, and we want to make sure we're all on the same page because for Lawton Public Schools to be successful, we need to all be on the same page because, again, I don't think no matter how many people we put in the room, everybody wants children to get a great education, and we're all working toward that. So so thanks for joining us.
And we'll continue that celebration. Mr. Hime, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for your time. Until next week, you guys be well, stay safe, and make positive impacts. Have a great weekend.